and welcome back to my YouTube channel. In today's video, we're going to be making spinach pie. But before we get into the video, make sure to give this video a nice thumbs up and don't forget to hit that subscribe button and the little bell so you don't miss another one of my videos. Alright, let's get started. Now here's a Greek classic. It's finally here. The infamous spinach pie, or Spanakopita if you're Greek. So this is an amazing appetizer, lunch, snack, dessert, whatever it is that you want to call it. It's filled with a ton of great greens, herbs, nice spices, feta, and it's wrapped in like delicate, lovely, crispy phyllo dough. They're so good and healthy, and of course they're vegetarian, but most importantly, they're addicting. Trying to get a recipe from your Yia Yia is literally impossible. Or your grandma, if you don't know what a Yia Yia is. But seriously, like, they don't know any measurements, they don't know how much of what, how much of this, how much time they even put it in the oven, like, literally nothing. I can't even explain to you, I don't understand. I remember one time I was making pastitsio on FaceTime with my Yia Yia, or it's like kind of like Greek lasagna. That was like crazy. I mean, it came out really good, thank God, but trying to show my Yia Yia what I'm doing and asking her like, oh, do I need some of this? How does this look? Everything was like, put some more. Oh, how much? I don't know, just put some more. I'll look at it and let you know. Oh, I don't know. How does it look? I'm like, I don't know how it looks. Like, what? It's just, it's crazy. So this was a tough one to try and get all of the ingredients and all of the measurements out for you guys, but I'll definitely have everything in the description box below for you. And I bought pre-made phyllo dough, but I will have a recipe down below if you guys want to make it yourself. So now the main ingredient here is of course spinach, and that's a very basic, easy ingredient that you can find anywhere, so that's really good. And this recipe is also really versatile, so you can use frozen or you can use fresh, but the only tip I'm going to give you guys is to make sure that your herbs and your spinach, everything is very dry. You definitely want to make sure it's dried out, nothing's really wet and soggy, because that's just going to make for soggy phyllo dough, and it's just going to be a mess. And even if your spinach is really wet and you're trying to wrap it in the phyllo dough, that can spoil your phyllo dough. So make sure everything's dry. So I have 3 methods here for you guys to reduce your spinach's water content so that you don't have a really soggy spinach pie. No one wants soggy anything. You guys hear me say that all the time, but especially with a spinach pie or your Spanakopita and you're using your phyllo dough that's supposed to be real crisp and crunchy and flaky, and it's just going to be like a squishy thing. Like, who the heck wants that? So the first method is the method that I like to do, and what this is you're going to take all your spinach and you're going to massage it with some salt, and then you're going to squeeze and rinse out all the water and just let that kind of sit for like maybe 5 to 10 more minutes to just let all that water rinse out and drain out of your spinach. Now, I like to do this because it just keeps the spinach still fresh and keeps all the flavors nice intact, but you do have to make sure that you definitely wash off all that salt, because you don't want a crazy salty Spanakopita, especially because you're already using other herbs, spices, and like that feta cheese. You don't just want to be biting into a thing of salt. So definitely don't learn the hard way and make sure to rinse off all of that salt. The second method is blanching your spinach. Now, make sure to only do this for about a minute because you don't want to overcook anything. So the other thing with this is just going to take a little bit longer, obviously, and then you have to definitely make sure that you let the spinach cool completely, because then that's going to spoil your phyllo dough, like I was saying before. I think before I said if it was just wet, but I mean like if it's wet and it's hot, you're just gonna spoil your phyllo, and like you don't want that. So definitely make sure if you're doing this method, you rinse everything, you let everything drain out, and you make sure it's definitely cool before you start wrapping it in your phyllo. The last method is sauteing your spinach. Now, this is really good. It's going to make your flavors just really flavorful and pop that much more. And you can, of course, add your leeks or your spring onions, whatever it is, into that sauteing pan. But I don't particularly do this method. Like, it is good, but I just like the fresh spinach more, and it just makes it just lighter for me and just easier to digest. Now, if you haven't seen it already, make sure to check out my keto spinach cheese ball recipe. But just like with that recipe, you can use frozen spinach here, but you're just gonna wanna make sure that you defrost it beforehand and you drain all of that juice in the water before you start adding it to your phyllo dough. Same thing, and you're of course gonna wanna measure out your spinach after it's been defrosted and drained and everything. Don't measure it before, it's not going to be accurate. So the secret here to a delicious spanakopita is of course going to be your herbs. Now, depending on what island you're from in Greece, there are going to be different herbs that people like to use in their recipes. But for me, I like to keep it to what my Yia uses. So we're going to have here our dill, our mint leaves, our parsley, and our scallions. But you can of course, as always, customize this to whatever you guys like. And then we of course have our feta. Now, for me, this is a must. Like, you have to use feta cheese in your spanakopita to make it just traditional Greek spinach pies. But of course, just like with everything else that I tell you guys, you can substitute this for whatever cheese that you like. It's just not going to be authentically Greek, so you might want to stick to your feta. And also, we're going to be using the eggs here to kind of help bind everything together and make more of like a paste consistency. But this is vegetarian, but if you do want a vegan option, there are recipes out there for you that don't have eggs, and they come out just as good. So if you guys are interested, I can definitely link a recipe or something that I can find down below for you guys. The other tip that I would give you guys is not to add too many liquids like, I don't know, like a milk or a cream or something like that, because again, you just spent all this time trying to get rid of some of the liquid and the water content that's in your spinach and making sure everything is nice and dry. So you don't want to kind of counteract that and all the hard work that you did by just putting more moisture back into it and creating something soggy in the end anyways. And I also don't add any salt to this recipe. Now, you guys are more than welcome to, but I just don't find the need to add salt. We already have so many great herbs and spices going on here, and the salt that's in our feta, so I don't find it necessary, and I don't like things to be too salty. I like for people to just be able to add salt to their portion if that's what they specifically like. There's absolutely no problem with taking some hard salt and sprinkling that on top of your spinach pie and just eating it like that, but I don't like to just do that to the entire filling. That's just kind of a personal preference thing. Now again, I told you guys I'm using pre-made phyllo dough. Now some people might be cringing at me, some people might not care. I mean, my Yia uses this, so I don't think it's that big of a deal, but you can totally make it yourself. It's just a little bit time consuming and can be tricky if you've never done it before, just to get it right. It's also going to be a little bit thicker and not as crunchy or flaky at the end, but it's still super delicious. Like, don't get me wrong. I just think this is just way easier and more convenient. Plus, a lot of the taste is all going to be in the filling, and that's what I am doing from scratch. So it takes a long time for me to individually wrap each one of the triangles, so it just saves me time having this already made for me. Now for your phyllo dough, you're just going to want to defrost them however the instructions say on the box. So usually it'll say to take them out and either put them in the fridge or take them out and leave them at room temperature for like a couple hours beforehand just to thaw them out a little bit. And then before you're ready to use them, usually what we'll do is take a damp paper towel or a damp towel and sandwich them between the dough just to make sure that they don't dry out while we're using them and we're folding them, because you don't want them to get all dry and crusty and they just break as you're trying to roll them. But don't worry, it's not going to be anything crazy, you guys will see. And even if you do get a hole or something while you're folding them, it's perfectly fine because there's so many layers, it's just going to cover it up and it's all going to taste the same in the end anyway, right? Now as far as making these ahead of time or freezing them, totally can do that. So if you're making these ahead of time and you want to keep them in the fridge, then just make your filling, keep that in the fridge for a couple days. If you're putting them in the freezer, they'll last in the freezer for up to a month. But I would recommend, if you're making these, to make your filling, make your spinach pies, roll them up, and put them in the freezer like that. Don't cook them beforehand and then put them in the freezer, if that makes sense. It's way easier just to have these still, I don't want to say raw, because it's not like they're super, like, whatever, but it's better for you to just put them in the oven when they're frozen and let them thaw and cook in there than trying to defrost them in the oven or out here. They're just going to get soggy again and nobody wants that. And as far as serving goes, you can serve these hot or cold, doesn't matter. I know in Greece, usually this would be like my breakfast. I mean, to be honest, tiropitas, like the spinach pies, were like my breakfast, and they were like the size of my face. But that'll be a recipe for another video. So without further ado, let's get started. So the ingredients I have here is of course the phyllo dough. I told you, some spinach, some mint leaves, parsley, dill or scallions, the eggs, feta, and then we're going to have some olive oil and our black pepper. But I'm first going to start off with our spinach. I'm just going to start getting that all massaged with our salt and rinsed and drying out. Alright guys, so all of the prepping is done. I'm just going to grab this. And here we have our scallions, we have our dill, we have our parsley, we have our mint. I'm just going to very quickly just pulse this a little bit just to get everything really nice and chopped real fine and just blended together. Alright. So you should have something that looks like this. I'm just gonna grab a big old bowl and let's grab, this is a big spatula, a big boy, and we're just going to basically mix all of our ingredients and create our filling. So we have all of our spinach. And I'm going to add a little bit of the spinach at a time, just to get everything nice and blended. Oh yeah, this is that good. So good. Oh, smells insane. Alright, now we have our feta. Now, I have another container of feta. I'm going to see the consistency once we mix all of this to see if I want to add more. I look at the ratio between the green and the white. The green and the white, I mean like the herbs, veggies, and the cheese just to see what I like. Now, I'm going to add in our olive oil. Get this going, and our egg. So for the egg, you're just going to just scramble it like a little bit, nothing too crazy. And if you have large eggs, just use 2 of them. If you've got kind of normal medium sized ones, small ones, you can use 3. Oh, you hear my stomach growling? I can't. Alright. The egg is definitely going to help it start forming into the little paste. Add the rest of our spinach. So I added 2 like giant bags of spinach. It's a little bit more than what I had told you guys. So I'm just going to add in another egg and probably a little bit more cheese. I'll show you guys what it looks like when I'm done so you guys can kind of get a feel for that. Oh yeah. Oh, you guys. So good. Yeah. Definitely way better with another egg. Make sure everything is nice, well incorporated. I'm going to, see this is what mine looks like right now. I'm going to add more feta. Just that's my personal preference. So I can get it open. Fresh pack. This is just a smaller one, so I don't know if I'm going to use all of this, but let's see, I'm just going to look at the color of this. Once I'm done mixing it, we'll see. Now today is the 20th, so I'm definitely going to be freezing some of these like I mentioned earlier. I'm definitely going to do that, and I'm going to bring some for Thanksgiving. So I'm going to cook some now and then freeze some for later. This is what it looks like now. Just so you guys can kind of see. I'm going to add just a little bit more cheese. Just a little bit. Nothing crazy because these aren't cheese pies. These ones are obviously spinach pies. But this is just how I like them. You guys can make them whichever way that you like. Alright, awesome. Now you guys should have something that looks like this. So good. Okay, so I'm just going to clean this up really quick and then come back with our phyllo dough. So I have a kind of damp rag underneath here. Then we have our baking sheet of white, which is some parchment paper. And we're gonna take out our phyllo dough. There's gonna be a gazillion sheets in here. So now, these are great. These are by Athens, it's the phyllo dough. These are really great because they already come layered for you. So I'm just gonna literally roll them out just like that. But these are really great because the shape of them is kind of exactly what we need anyway. I'm gonna cut these right in half down the middle, this way, ever so slightly. And we're going to be making little triangle phyllo dough, so I'll show you guys how you're gonna wanna do that. So you see what I just did there? I just cut that one thick sheet into two kind of columns. See this little rip there, like completely fine. So we're gonna take some olive oil here. This is gonna kind of be a little bit like glue. We're just gonna kind of brush the edges just a little bit. Okay. Now we're going to start taking our filling. Probably I want to take my ring off for this. We'll start taking our filling. Scoop that on there. Okay. Now you're gonna take from the corner over until the other corner. Does that make sense? Can you guys see what I'm doing here? Where are you? I'm taking, can you see, hold on. Can you see like a little triangle here? You're just gonna take the one corner and fold it on over, and then you're gonna take the next one, fold it on over, and just gonna keep going around. See where we're at here. Gonna keep going around, and you're gonna go around again, and you're gonna go around again, and again until you get your triangle. Now this one's not gonna be too perfect because I'm trying to show you how to do it at the same time, but let's just, I'll just put that one over here, and then we'll take the top and go around again. So let me show you how to do this one more time. So take corner to corner, and flip it over, and just keep flipping, just keep flipping. Flip it over. And then see how we have our triangle? And then we're just gonna flip this piece over like a piece of tape. And then you have your little triangle. Yeah, if you're finding it hard to close it or whatever it is, you might just you might just be putting too much of your filling in there. So try just adding a little bit less. All right, so I'm gonna try to show you guys how I'm doing this from my phone. So maybe it'll be a little bit easier for you guys to see. I'm gonna grab a sheet. Okay, now we're gonna cut that sheet in half. Because we're not trying to make giant spinach pies here. It's literally like paper, so don't worry about it. So I'm gonna do that. We're going to take some of our glue. Now I like just doing it on all the edges and then on top just to get it a little bit crispy once we put it in the oven. There's no rhyme or reason to this. And then I'm going to take a scoop of our mixture here, our filling. Plop that right in there, maybe even a little more. okay? So then we're gonna take corner to this corner. See, we're getting our triangle shape. Then we're going to take that, turn it over. We still have our triangle. Take that, turn it over again. Take that, turn it over again, and again. And we have that little square piece that we're just gonna seal everything with. And then you can go ahead and just add some more on top. See? That's literally it. I'll show you one more time. We're gonna add our glue. Okay. We're gonna take our filling. Oh, need the cheese. Okay. Doesn't matter which corner you start from. Just take corner to corner. Fold it over. Fold it over. Fold it over. And this one you didn't even have the rectangle at the end. Boop, done. Alright guys, so we have our first batch ready to go in the oven. So you're just going to cook this for about 50 minutes to maybe an hour, just until they're golden brown. And then, I mean, you got to let them cool a little bit, and then we're going to try some. Okay guys, so we're all out of the oven. We're smelling good. We're nice and cooled down a little bit. Well, let me show you guys here. Stop it. How good does that look? So this is going to be your guys' personal preference. I had them in there for the full hour. I started at 50 minutes, then I added 5 more, then I added 5 more. So this is just going to be your personal preference for how flaky or browned that you like your phyllo dough to be. So I think this is pretty good. It's still hard, crunchy. If you like more phyllo, so it's not as transparent, you can just, like we had the columns and we cut them in half, you can wrap it once through with the one sheet of phyllo dough, and then you can go again with that same one and wrap it again to just make it a little bit tighter and a little bit thicker if you want more of that flaky dough. But it's time to try one. So I'm going to take the first one I made, that ugly one, just get rid of it. So good. All the flavors just mend so nicely together. You have all that dill, you have a little bit of mint, you have the parsley, of course you have that feta. Now I did say I think feta's a must. I've never made it with another cheese. I'm sure it would be good, but it's just not the same. But this is so delicious. You can fill them more, you can fill them less. It's really up to you guys. Now you guys, stay tuned for a couple different ways that I'm going to be making these Spanakopita, because the filling can be used in so many different varieties, and it's really going to be interesting for you guys to see. And maybe, who knows, maybe for Thanksgiving or the holidays, you're going to want to use these. Maybe you're going to want to make a big pie. I don't know, but I'll definitely show you guys a variety so that way you can make them and check out which one fits for you guys and have them for Thanksgiving. Well, that's all I have for this video today, you guys. I hope you liked it and I hope you learned something new. If you did like it, make sure to give this video a nice thumbs up, and don't forget to hit that subscribe button and the little bell so you don't miss another one of my videos. If you want to get my exclusive nutrition tips, healthy food recommendations, and delicious recipes just like this one, then make sure to head over to my description box, click the link, and join the fam. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye guys.